Our registration team manage the process for registering through the Australian Medical Council, APRA Medical Board. We also do all the colleges, the migration process into Australia and relocation to Australia and to New Zealand. Our registration team is more than happy to assist you, so please contact us through the website. Your specialist qualifications are assessed by the relevant college. They are assessed by the set standard of that relevant college. It is not job specific. The outcome determines your pathway to fellowship. The assessment is undertaken by the relevant college in Australia. It looks at the position that you are going to be starting. It is job specific only, and the Area of Need Specialist pathway does not lead to fellowship.
For your registrations in Australia, you're going to go through all sorts of different organisations. This can include the AMC, the college if you're a specialist, and APRA. They're the three primary ones. And what happens with your documentation is each organisation requests their own certified copies and they don't transfer them to any other organisation. So we absolutely appreciate this is quite an expensive process, but unfortunately it's not one that we're able to control. So depending on if you're a junior or a specialist doctor, the fees can vary quite dramatically. For junior doctors, you're probably looking at about $2,000 or $3,000 as part of your relocation budget. For the specialist, you're looking at around $10,000, and you need to be prepared to spend that amount of money in order for you to be registered here in Australia. A lot of the questions we get asked is whether the employers will pay for these fees. Some employers do offer to refund them after you, for example, have worked with them for a certain period of time. You sign some sort of declaration, but we do stress you need to be prepared to have this amount of money in your relocation budget, because each registration organisation you go through, those fees are expected to be paid immediately in order to progress through the process.
Most likely, it depends after the assessment process of your documentation, which on your behalf we submit to the relevant college. Most colleges are able to conduct the interview via Skype. However, it is advantageous if you could make the commitment to come to Australia and conduct those interviews face to face. The specialist assessment process should take anywhere between 6 to 12 months for the completion of your registration. The college can only assess you by the information which you include in your CV. It's really important to include things like continuing medical education, research audit, any teaching experience which you may have undertaken. Any gaps of more than 1 month must be explained. In each job responsibility, it's really important to include as much detail as possible. If you need any assistance at all in your resume, we are more than willing to help you with that.
There are restrictions on doctors coming from overseas who wish to work in private practice. They need to work in an area which is deemed a district of workforce shortage, and these tend to be in more regional or rural areas and less in the metropolitan area. Technically, doctors coming from overseas can work anywhere in Australia. There tend to be more roles in regional areas because the Australian doctors fill up the metropolitan hospitals. If you're wanting to work in private practice, though, you will need to work in an area which is deemed a district of workforce shortage.
Yes, in order to commence the process for registration, you need to prove English language proficiency. And what that means is you need to show evidence of your secondary education being in an English deemed country, and also your primary medical degree needed to be in that country as well. Or you needed to sat the IELTS examination, and that's valid for 2 years, and results must be 7 and above. Or for UK doctors, you could have sat the PLAB 1 and 2 examinations and continued work experience in that country for the duration until you move to Australia. And the other alternative is the OET examination.
The college interviews can be really quite stressful, but at Plexus we've had a lot of experience with the different colleges. We've got a database of questions that we might be able to help you with, or we can put you in touch with someone who's recently completed the college interview, so you can have a chat with them about how it went, what the format was, if there was any specific questions that you need to be aware of. It's better if you can come to Australia and undertake the interview face to face. That generally gives a better outcome. If you're interviewing over Skype, if there's delay or if the line is bad, it's always worthwhile notifying the college during the interview of this, and they will be able to factor that into your responses. But we'll certainly prepare you quite extensively for this college interview, because the outcome is based on your performance at interview and your CV. So the better you perform, the better your outcome, and the longer you'll be able to stay here in Australia.
So once you've secured a job with Plexus, your file will be allocated to the registrations team. I coordinate the visa side of things, so what I'll do is contact you to request certain documents for the visa application. Once you've gained registration with APRA, what I do then is lodge the application on your behalf and attach all the required documents. And this is for the 457 temporary sponsored application process. And I'll liaise with the department on your behalf in order for the application to be finalised and approved, and send you the outcomes and also explain what it actually means for your duration in Australia.
Plexus relocation process starts well before you arrive. I will be talking to you with regard to your needs for schooling and housing. I will also make sure that you are met on arrival at the airport and taken to some booked accommodation in the city. Your first few days here will be very busy, and we make sure you know exactly what you need to do in those first few days. You will need to visit the medical board to finalise your registration. You also need to organise a tax file number and bank account, and to meet your employer. We make sure you have all those details on hand when you arrive. We also make sure that you are given a Plexus welcome pack on arrival, and in that will be a mobile phone for your immediate use if you require it, a lot of paperwork that you need in those first few days, and some Australian treats to welcome you to the country.